So continuing on, one of the things I want to mention about the two hemispheres, which there will be a whole nother lecture on them, is that the left side of your brain controls the right side of your body, and the right side of your brain controls the left side of your body. So if you were to stimulate the left side of the motor cortex, the right side of your body is going to move. If you stimulate the right side of your motor cortex, the left side of your body is going to move. And with the sensory cortex, which is in the parietal lobe, the more sensitive the regions are on your body, the larger their spot is on the sensory cortex. So for example, our lips tend to be very sensitive areas on our body. The lips have a larger space devoted to them on the sensory cortex than, say, our knees do. Now, moving along to the association areas of the brain. So we've talked about lots of different parts of the brain, but there's also these random large association areas that include or encompass neurons that integrate information together. And the more evolved your species is, the larger the association area is. You can see the pink part is the association area. In a human, it's very large, whereas in a rat, it's very small. What this means is that we have the ability, our brains have the ability to process information and to think at a higher level than lower species. The association areas are responsible for basically everything that we are able to do as humans. Now, language is also a huge part of the brain. You have Wernicke's area, which is a part of the brain that is important to language, and you also have Broca's area. Wernicke's area is located in the left temporal lobe, and it's responsible for language comprehension, whereas Broca's area is in the frontal lobe on the left hemisphere, and it is responsible for directing the muscle movements of our mouth and our voices and our throats to be able to produce language. And there's something that happens when these areas are damaged. That's called aphasia. Aphasia is the impairment of language. Aphasia is when we cannot either produce language or we cannot understand language. And again, because both of these are in the left hemisphere, we know that the left hemisphere is important for language comprehension and production. Broca's aphasia is when a person has impaired speaking. They cannot literally form the words that they need to in order to speak. Whereas Wernicke's area, or Wernicke's aphasia, is when a person has impaired understanding of language. They don't understand what it is you are verbally saying to them. Whereas Broca's aphasia is when someone cannot form the words they need to talk to you. We'll watch two videos on them.
It's just full of leaves, see? But they feel low. Oh, I guess you meant you have beds, see? I don't know.
Where do you live?
Where do you live? You live? You're up here, see?
Where do you live, Doc?
Where do you live?
Where do you live?
Where do you live is, well, if there's a run here and around here. You?
You used to be a dentist.
Yes.
Yeah. Where?
Right here. The rest of it here.
Okay, so what type of aphasia do you think this is? Is it Wernicke's? Is this person having trouble understanding what she's saying? Or is this person, does he have Broca's aphasia? Is he having trouble forming the words? If you said Wernicke's aphasia, you would be correct. She asked, where do you live? And he's saying, in my mouth. I live in my mouth. He does not understand what she is asking him to respond to. That is a classic sign of Wernicke's aphasia. Somewhere in the left temporal lobe, where the Wernicke's area is located, he has suffered damage, maybe from a stroke, and he is not able to understand what other people are saying to him.
Now tell me what this thing was with your
Here's
legs
someone with
last
Broca's
week or week
aphasia.
before.
No good.
Ache and
So you can see he is having trouble literally forming the words that he needs to answer this individual's question. It's not that he doesn't understand what the individual is asking of him. He literally cannot produce the words that he needs in order to answer the question. That's a classic sign of Broca's aphasia. If you have a hard time remembering or distinguishing between Wernicke's and Broca, think about the Spanish word for mouth is boca, and Broca's aphasia is when someone cannot produce language, where Wernicke's aphasia is when someone cannot understand language. And the last thing I want to talk about for this lecture is the fact that our brains are so specialized at what they do. They are so good at integrating information that we take in as humans on a minute, second basis. Literally, we are bombarded with sensory stimuli, and our brains can integrate that information, send it to the area that it needs to go so that we can comprehend it. When you look at the brain activity when we're hearing or seeing or speaking words, you see certain parts of the brain lighting up. This would be if someone was in an MRI or an fMRI machine. Here on the left, you have an individual hearing words. The parts of her brain that are lighting up are the auditory cortex, which is in the temporal lobe, and Wernicke's area, which is in the left temporal lobe. When we're seeing words, our visual cortex, which is in the occipital lobe, is lighting up. And when we're speaking words, Broca's area, which is in the frontal lobe, and our motor cortex is lighting up. Remember, the motor cortex is at the back of the frontal lobe. Both of those things are involved in speech production. So we know these areas of our brain are responsible for these types of functions because of technology. And later on in this unit, we'll be talking about the different ways we can physically study the brain through technology. And because you have listened to the end of Part 2 lecture, there's an extra credit opportunity, which is okay, so since you all are doing what you're supposed to be doing and listening to both parts of the lectures, I have an extra credit opportunity. This is going to be due by Wednesday at midnight. Your answers need to be emailed to me at jennifer.whitworth@dps.net. You need to answer the following questions correctly in order to get the extra credit, and this will go on your superhero brain projects that you'll be getting in class tomorrow. You must, not us, you must have all answers correct to get the credit. Starting with case study number 1, you've got patient JP suffered a minor stroke recently. Although he has recovered most of his function, he is still unable to speak clearly. He sounds stilted and almost Tarzan-like. What part of the brain is damaged? Case study 2, patient AF is suffering from a brain tumor. As the tumor grows, he is becoming increasingly belligerent and aggressive. He also seems to have no fear when confronted with threats or danger. What part of the brain do you believe is damaged? Case study 3, patient BB, ironically enough, has been shot in the head with a BB gun. The BB is now lodged in her brain and she has lost feeling in her left hand. What part of the brain is damaged? Case study 4, patient PD suffers from an extreme seizure disorder. Doctors have located the source of the seizures. To prevent PD's death, they have surgically removed the affected area. While PD's seizures have lessened considerably, he is now unable to form new memories. What part of the brain is damaged? And last, patient FD has suffered a minor stroke. Now she is extremely uncoordinated and seems to have completely lost her sense of balance. What part of the brain is damaged? Those 5 answers must be correct and emailed to me by midnight on Wednesday in order to get your extra credit on your project. As always, let me know what your questions are. Good luck, guys.